Hi, this is Steve Gens, managing partner of Gens and Associates, and welcome to the Regulatory Executive Podcast. I'm very excited about this one. My friend Remco is here. I know most of you know Remco, but he has some recent very exciting news as far as starting his own company. So we're going to explore that today. So Remco, for our listeners, I'm sure most know you, but for those that might not, why don't you do a introduction and a little introduction about the company?
Yeah, thanks, Steve. So you don't notice it at us, but I bring over 25 years of experience in life sciences and consultancy leadership. I've been working 10 years in a big pharmaceutical company, and after those 10 years, decided to relocate to the southern parts of Europe in Spain and join consulting company. So there I've been really involved in the hardship of ECD publishing globally, but really going in deep into regulatory information management. So in Europe, we had their new requirements for companies to submit XEVMPD data, switching from XEVMPD to IDMP. And there became an expert in that topic, helping many pharmaceutical companies on that journey, the digitalization, not only from a compliance point of view, but also really from a strategic point of view. Besides my day job as a consultant, I also strongly believe that there's changes are needed on various fronts, and that's why I'm also having two pro bono activities. So one is that I'm representing an industry trade association, and in that role, I'm working together with the European Medicine Agency. I'm a member of the regulatory optimization group because I always think that there should be room for improvements. And in addition, I'm part of the Irish Forum, where I'm president of the executive committee, really helping the Irish Forum topic groups to function, to have the discussion between two vendors, regulators, and industry to bring things forward. So that's it, Steve.
Yeah, so certainly, and I appreciate because my team. It's the diversity of the team. Like most of us, like yourself, came from industry. Did a job in consulting, and either went independent, or for me, it was more than being independent. It was starting a true company and all that. So that combination, and like Greg too, he spent all those years at the FDA before going into consulting, then kind of joining the network here. And I just find that balance, it just brings so much, more value to the table. But Arcana. So we can start there. Starting a company isn't something people do every day. Some people, when they start, they just want to be independent, just kind of solo practitioners. And others actually, start a company. And, there's a lot that goes into, as now, well, what do I call it? What is my mission? There's a lot of things I can do or my team can do, but what are we going to really, really focus on? So there's always a story here. How you got started and really what's the significance of the name Arcana?
Yeah, yeah, thanks. There's one motto in my life that's is the biggest room in the world is the room for improvement. And I
Mm.
believe that it's applicable even for you, Steve. But there's always a smarter, braver way forward, right? And um, after I ended my last job as a consultant for a big consulting firm, I did various interviews with established companies, and often after those calls, I was disappointed. I was not getting the energy that I really wanted to have from matching my view and desire to improve and question the status quo. I really believe that we need to do something different, something better. And that disconnect with those established companies really thought like, okay, it's time that I spread my wings and fly. I need to put my money where my mouth is. And I wanted to start a company that's really driven by curiosity, creating its own momentum, but also the courage to rethink how things are done. And your second part of the question was about Arcana. So to find a company name that's not yet taken, it's very difficult. And I
Yeah.
didn't go with Remco and Associates. So Arcana comes from Latin, and the meaning is really secret or hidden. But the deeper knowledge is about the knowledge that we possess and want to implement. So it's really specialized knowledge that we want to apply. And what we want to do with secrets and hidden information is we want to do exactly the opposite. We want to make things that are complex, we want to make it clear. We want to turn the regulatory mystery that some companies have with regards to the steps that the regulators are taking into a forward motion at companies to really implement certain things. And we want to bring structure, speed, and human connection to a system that too often stalls. Um, and I'm also saying here we, so it's also not me. It's also it is me, but my company. But we also I'm also discussing with 4 former colleagues to really bring our knowledge, which ranges from IDMP subject matter expertise, process optimization, data governance, RIM selection and implementation. Really bring that knowledge that we have supported various companies to the market and see what we can do.
Yeah, that's definitely impressive, Remco. And it's kind of interesting this summer because I've been around the block slightly longer than you, unfortunately by a decade or two. But with all the years that I was in an industry and, I was at Booz Allen before I started my company and started in 2005 and all that regulatory is always going through incremental change. There's something always going on, right? But, over the last year, it's like something is different. And we finally kind of framed it this summer and speaking at some of the conferences this fall, and we're just calling it very simple, the confluence of change, because a lot of the things and like the services you're going to offer are right in the middle of this confluence, we talk about documents to data, but it's all about the data. The better the data, the better the structure with a lot of the automation goals, both on a document level, on a dossier level. You need to have a data strategy, not only in regulatory, that thread has to pull through the R&D organization. So there's really a lot going on. And what we started, like for the first time talking about, and I was at a forum yesterday, is we're in the beginning of a new era. So actually starting a company with a lot of specialized skill and knowledge. And I think, as you know, too, it's, there's consultants and small consulting companies. They're very, very knowledgeable, but it's how you work with the client. It's a partnership. It's a collaboration. We don't even like using the word projects, here. It's a collaboration with, kind of our dear clients and all that. So there's a lot of things you could do. So I'm sure our listeners are really eager, like coming out of the gate here. What type of service offerings and what are you most passionate about? Like with those service offerings, what are you going to focus on? And really, what are the best type of clients that you're going to be serving?
Yeah, no, I mean, fully agree with that. There's a new change, a new wind is circulating, right? Our expertise is really coming from IDMP, right? We are IDMP subject matter expertise, but it's almost like for me, IDMP is not the data standard. IDMP is really the language that we speak in order to connect systems, data sets to each other, to start understanding what is a pharmaceutical product, what's a medicinal product, and how can we link this to our colleagues in supply chain, in pharmacovigilance, in laboratories. And yes, we need to have some data cleansing and data standardization within regulatory in order to do all this cool stuff that AI promises us. But I think that's where our IDMP subject matter expertise really comes in. Helping still with the regulatory data strategy, because the European Medicine Agency has set this dot, right, about PMS, the product database, being the source of information. But not only for authorized products, also for development products. So also from your clinical development, you already need to start thinking about this. Now, there are very few pharmaceutical companies that only target Europe. So also for your entire portfolio, you need to start thinking, how do I do this on a global level? And FDA might not yet implement mandatory IDMP, but they're also doing things on structured data, right? So there are ICH developments ongoing in the clinical space, in the CMC part of the dossier. So you really need to look to the end-to-end process of your product development and start thinking, how do I manage this data? And not only managing the data out of compliance, but really managing this data as an asset. And I think that's the difference. If you manage this data as an asset, what kind of value can you derive out of it? And coming back to your question about what clients should call me, I would really like to work with clients, like it's not clients, like you said, like it's partners.
Yeah.
companies that want to do something different, that are ready to rethink how regulatory data is driving the strategy. And that are very bold words, right? Bold companies, but it's really, it's time to rethink. Let's not do the things that we have been doing the last 20, 25 years. It's time for something different, something smarter, something agile. And that's also something that we need to adapt to.
Yeah, and I certainly can identify with that because, with my limited experience in the, IDMP world, it was always referring to Kelly or yourself, on these kind of matters. And maybe I'm looking at it too simply, but I would see like two different cohorts or kind of class of clients when it comes to IDMP. And some is, hey, it's compliance. So what's the cheapest way to gain compliance, right? And you do that. Or those that take a different look is, like you said, it's a new language. It's not about the system connectivity; it's about information connectivity because systems can be connected. There's data warehouses, data lakes. There's just different styles and techniques, and that's all part of kind of the data strategy. And we had one very progressive client, and they just got done this spring where they had all the different functions in R&D and some of the commercial, and they talked about their product information backbone, and they picked 19 data points that were mission critical, and it's all based on IDMP, right? So they actually pull that string around, and there's so much other business value, the acceleration of process. So having a really, really good cross-functional data strategy, in our book is really, really important because you know how the story goes. If it's always, well, it's just for compliance, it's the cheapest path, you end up with a lot of silos. You're building complexity versus
Yeah.
kind of what you're suggesting is, let's rethink our information highway, let's streamline it, let's make it less complex and use. So
Yeah.
it's, I'm really, like I said, when you were talking to me at the Extito conference back there in Maine, Frankfurt, and thinking about this, I'm like, boy, you're going to be great. You're just a natural on this. So let's drift a little bit. So you're just starting out. I know you're getting your website up. You got your company name. That's a torturous process. I gave up here, as you know. It was at the end of the year. My tax accountant said, "You got to incorporate. What's the name?" And I gave up, and I just said Gens and Associates. But like with my background here, especially for those that are just listening on kind of a voice only podcast, there's these big mountains. It's actually Swiss mountains because I always enjoy, the mountains. So like with my company name, I was trying to think about something with the mountains, but and I didn't. So congratulations on Arcana, a very thoughtful and very meaningful, kind of company name. So you're just starting out. It's really, really exciting, starting with your first kind of client projects and all that. But, take a look in your crystal ball. So if you look out, maybe, in the next year or two or longer term, where would you like to be?
Yeah. In the next 2 to 3 years, right? I mean, short term, which already sounds ridiculous, like 2, 3 years short term. But
Yeah.
I really hope that as a result of this podcast, also many bold companies have called me, right? Really established a partnership where we have helped them to just implement the IDMP compliance, but coming from a compliance, really how that drives the regulatory data strategy. So, and then from a compliance burden, translate this into a competitive edge. And I think that there are many promises of AI, right? I was alluding to
Yeah.
that previous discussion, but I think AI really requires good data, and also good data quality, data standardization, say IDMP, data governance around that. Who's the owner? Who's the responsible person for that? What happens if we update the data? And without those rules of engagement, AI will struggle to make sense out of our pharmaceutical data, right? So I think that's really important. You need to have some homework in place in order before you can do the benefits, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And my goal is then in 2 to 3 years to really be Arcana as a go-to partner for regulatory transformation. Not just for the execution, but really for shifting the mindset and sparking momentum.
Yeah, and that's certainly, very exciting because in the age of not only this forum I was at yesterday, there was a deep discussion from a regulatory context about agentic AI and how that's kind of stepping up. And at some of the conferences I spoke at this fall, I've referenced Amar's law. So that's the basis of the Gartner height curve. And basically, with Amar's law is that the technology. Anytime there's a major technology shift, we grossly overestimate. It. Like, hey, AI, people in regulatory are just going to sit in their chairs, and AI is going to do everything for them. Which we know, obviously, that's not true. But it's overestimated in the short term, maybe 2 or 3 years, then really underestimated in the longer term. But, some of the services and the foundation that you're talking about, it is the new foundation to really maximize the value of its agentic AI or what's going to be next, in front of the term AI into 2 to 3 years. So certainly well equipped. And certainly as we talk too, looking forward to like our firms. Hopefully, we can collaborate, on some projects too. Bring kind of the best of Arcana, and Gens and Associates together. So
Yeah.
it's always kind of fun, or it is fun, collaborating with you, Remco. So before we finish up, any kind of last words or thoughts for our listeners? You're starting up on a new chapter. It's both. I'm sure very exciting, but also, a little nervous too, when you pull the plug and do something as bold. But I think, just doing this bold step that you're doing, that's the type of clients you want to work with, those that want to take a bold step. So kind
Yeah.
of any final thoughts or wishes, Remco, today?
Nah, but maybe one more thought. So when I was a couple of years ago, I would have been terrified to start my own company. And I would probably have been very nervous in the starting phase that you're still searching what is my unique selling point? What am I going to sell, right? And I must say that I am happily surprised how confident I am that it will be a success. And I think that confidence is also not coming from just the fact that I want to have clients and I want to have growth and money. I mean, of course, I need to have money on the to pay the diapers for the little one. But it's really also building something. So it's building something that shifts how our life science sector thinks, acts, and works together. And I think that's also what drives me. That's really my driver, my motivation. It is we need to think out of the box. We cannot do the same thing over and over again. And that's why I also do these pro bono activities. I think as a network, we need to do better to supply internal information, but also external information to patients, to healthcare professionals better, quicker, in a more sustainable way. So yeah, that is my last thought.
Yeah, and I think that balance of the pro bono and then just having your client base is really important because, like, as you know, our survey is pro bono, and it's a lot of effort. Just like you're the president of Iris, and for our listeners, if you're not familiar with Iris, and I think in a moment you can give them like how to get in touch if they're interested in kind of Iris, but it's really those balance because I have always thought, in one of my philosophies, when I started the company, is you got to give to get, and some of the give is through pro bono, work that can actually help the entire community. So you express that with what you do with Iris and some of the other work you do. We express it, kind of with this industry standard survey we have that everybody takes. And it's a lot of effort, but it's also a joy to do it because you can see the results. It's, the community's progressing, and that's really important. So it'll be good to get you back in 6 months or a year, see where you're going. But in the meanwhile, I know a lot of people know you, Remco. You have an amazing reputation. Like I said, you're going to be really good. I'm looking forward to learning more about your team too, and hopefully we can collaborate. But if people don't know how to get a hold of you, or like, hey, now with your new company, how should I get in touch with Remco? How should they get in touch with you?
Yeah, there are various ways. So actually today I just registered my domain. So my website is coming, but info@arcanaconsultancy.com should be live right now. So happy to help, and otherwise LinkedIn or through you, Steve. I mean, happy to make the connection and see how we can help.
Okay, fantastic. And our listeners, you know how to get a hold of us. If there's any questions, just go to our website, the contact page. And just like Remco, I am a LinkedIn addict, so you can just reach out on LinkedIn. So, Remco, again, congratulations. You and your team are going to be great. I know you will make an impact. You already have, in industry. So, really looking forward to see your progress and also hopefully collaborate with you on some interesting projects as we get into the new year.
Thanks, Steve.